Well, since there's only four of us, okay. I did prepare a PowerPoint. I know I have like 35 minutes, but I was hoping to make it more interactive since there's only a few of us here. And I might not go through all the slides. I might save that for the next webinar if there's more people, so you can watch that one. And Andy, I'm thinking that you might be able to join on camera, so if you can, that'd be cool. Actually, I know it's
Uh,
driving, so that might not work.
I okay. I would be on camera, but I am doing other things.
Oh, okay.
I am
No worries.
sincere that I would. I would.
Oh, no problem at all.
Okay.
Well, okay. Either way, hopefully this will be more of a interactive, and you can at least respond. I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah.
go through some of these slides, and hopefully it'll have discussion on it. Okay, so financial freedom. Um, I'm just curious, for those of you who can respond,
Mm.
what are your personal challenges right now when it comes to finances? That might give me a better understanding of, what areas to emphasize more on. Like, for example, is it student loans? Because I know that that was one thing in particular that Victoria mentioned that I should focus on. Is it more just savings in general? Is it just understanding the basic concepts of what it means to save it or invest? What is the biggest thing that you want to learn about finances?
Okay. Let's see.
Any of you?
Yeah. Uh. So I already told you, Jason, that I'm jobless right now. But it's like, first of all, like I was told at like a young age, like, oh, you should be saving your money and stuff. So the fact of like, okay, where should I be putting my money? Into what accounts or what
Mm-hmm.
investments? And then
Okay.
like I could say, oh, how to get enough money to buy things, like bigger investments like cars. But
Okay.
like me being jobless, I can't really say how much money I have. So
Right,
that's not
right.
something I can really talk about.
Sure. Makes
So
sense.
yeah.
Okay. No worries.
I think for me, one thing that I really want to understand better is like how to strategically save. Like, um, you know, everyone always says like, oh, you gotta save money, but like, what does that actually look like, and what's the difference between like saving long term, saving short term? Like, how do
Okay.
I strategically save in the most efficient way, I guess, or like invest or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then how do
Yeah.
I use like what kind of things should I be saving for in TFSA versus RSP and like whatever,
Okay.
that kind of
Okay. You
stuff.
want more of the specifics? Okay. Cool. Because I honestly I kept this very general. I prepared this presentation assuming that most people have no idea about finances. Because
That's good too.
Oh,
no,
that's kind of okay.
because to be honest, like I believe that most people don't have any idea.
It's true.
I'll be honest,
Yeah.
even I'm at the master's of business level. The
Yeah.
master's level of business. It's the second highest. You can get a PhD, but that's very different. And
Hmm.
my classmates, they all have anywhere from 5 to 10 years of work experience, top of their class, and some of these guys have no idea how finances work, like no
Oh
idea.
no.
And so, unfortunately, it's a sad reality that university, high school, even grad school prepares you very well for how to be very good at a particular job.
Hmm.
But all that you're doing at the job is earning money, but nobody teaches you what to do with that money. It's sad, but hopefully
Yeah.
webinar will help a little bit. So I'll just go through it very casually because there's only four of us. I can skip this because there was already an introduction from me.
Yeah.
Okay, so graduation. Now, I'm curious. I know that Ashley and Victoria already graduated, but Ashley's going back to grad school, so that'd be exciting. And yeah, when are you graduating?
When am I graduating? That was your question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I graduated like last year.
Oh, you already graduated. Okay.
Yeah, already graduated. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So all of us have graduated undergrad. Awesome. So here's the numbers. I just want to show some of these numbers to you guys. This is based on StatsCan. Can only find 2018. But basically what it's showing is that 54% of university bachelor's degree grads owe about $28,000 at graduation. This is a combination of OSAP that they've taken out, credit card debt that they might have used, line of credit, any kind of debt outstanding. About $28,000. That's a lot of money. I'm gonna assume that most of us here, or most of you here, have some sort of student debt. Am I correct?
No, that's actually wrong for me.
Oh, you don't have any student debt?
I'm serious. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why-
I'm very
why-
fortunate.
Why are you here?
Yo.
You should be teaching us. That's awesome.
Yo. RESP really saved me.
Oh, so your parents invest in RESP for you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So essentially, that covered everything for you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. How about you? I'm not sure if Victoria or Ashley, or maybe Ashley can talk, but any student debt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say yes. I mean, I said yes. So, yeah.
Are you comfortable giving a ballpark of how much you might have, or if you're not, that's okay.
Excuse me? Over 30 grand.
Okay, so that's very, very close to what this person has, or the average is about 28,000, so $30,000. And this is more than half of bachelor's degrees. And this is only 2018, so I'm imagining now it's probably over $30,000 of debt. So it's very average, very standard. And Victoria?
I'm in the same boat as Andy.
Oh, very blessed. Yeah. Amen.
So, yes, God has been good.
Amen. Well, okay. Actually, I'll talk about my experience later. I'll just quickly run it down. So with OSAP, I'm hoping I get this right. If not, correct me, Ashley. But you have about 6 months before you have to start paying. So after you graduate, the moment you graduate, they start counting. Within 6 months, that's the grace period that they typically give you in Ontario. So in that 6-month period, no interest will be charged. But as soon as the 6-month period ends, the next day, interest will start accruing, right? And right now, the interest rate in Ontario is 2.75%. So, for example, if you owe $1,000, over the term of over that year, you'll be paying $1,000 plus $20.75, because that $20.75 will be interest. So you'll be essentially paying $1,027, which is not a lot, but if for example you have 20K or 10K or 30K, then that number adds up.
Yeah, it's just a lot already.
Yeah, and on average, it takes 9.5 years. This is according to OSAP website. I just checked it out like a few days ago. According to OSAP, 9.5 years is the average it takes to pay all the student loans back. So for those of us who don't have student loans or graduated with very little student loans, consider yourself very blessed, because this is the average in Ontario. So let's put all these numbers together. What does this mean? So 28,000 total debt, interest rate of 2.75%. This is the average interest rate right now. And assuming that you only make minimum payments, right? It will take you 9.5 years to pay it all back. Your actual debt that you're paying is $36,231. So that's an extra $8,000. So remember, your previous debt, total debt was $28,000. That's how much you borrowed. But if you make minimum payments, which by the way, OSAP is very, smart. Actually, all, institutions are very smart. By default, if you have a student loan, they're gonna make it so that you pay the minimum amount. You have to change it so that the default is not the minimum. But if you don't change it, by default, you will be only paying the minimum payment. So if you are only paying the minimum payment, you're going to end up paying $36,231, an extra $8,000 on top of what you actually took out. So that's insane. That's too much money to be giving to anybody, especially to the government. So where do you go from here now, knowing all this information? What do you do? I believe your goal, if you have any debt, or by the way, for Victoria and Andy, like you might not have that, and that's great. That's a huge blessing. But I really hope that this information that you can learn here, you teach it to someone. Really
Yeah,
teach it to other people. Like my
sure.
goal is to educate everyone. I'm not earning money from doing this. I just love talking about personal finances with people. So whatever you learn, please share with people. The goal is to pay back debt as fast as possible. That's your number one goal. If you have any savings saved up, you don't want to plan for a trip to Europe, you know, although that might be fun after the pandemic. You don't want to like, think about buying a new car, although you could. Your goal, if you have debt, is to pay it off as soon as possible. So when you get that first job, most of your paycheck should be going back to your paying debt. Right, just some verses here. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, borrower is slave to the lender." And that's so true. Like, if you owe money, you are essentially a slave. You cannot get out of your debt. You have to pay it. Romans 13:8 says that let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For he who loves his fellow man has fulfilled the law. God doesn't design or doesn't want us to owe anything to anyone. He truly wants us to experience financial freedom. So pay off your student debt, your first priority now and after graduation. Most people think that paying off student debt starts after graduation. That's when they start. But actually, I would actually argue that that's wrong because if you wait till after graduation, that's when interest already started accumulating, and you're paying way more than you need to. But if you're in school right now, or for those of you who aren't still in school, and maybe you can take a summer off to work. Maybe you can get a part-time job while you're studying, because I did that. Put all that money that you earned over the summer, over the school year, and put it towards your OSAP. Okay, just out of curiosity, I know most of you probably stayed at home while you're doing your school. Did you manage to save a lot of money while you were in undergrad? Because I know that most of you were very lucky because your parents helped you with paying your school loans, and also most of you stayed at home, so you really didn't have to pay for a lot of rent and food. So
Right.
that's awesome, by the way. Like most people don't have the luxury, but because you were able to have that, were you able to save money then?
Not really.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
If I
Go ahead.
worked, so the thing is that if I worked, I didn't make much at all, like probably less than minimum wage.
Okay.
And then, yeah, if I had money, I just kind of spent it on my own thing.
Okay. True.
For me, it was more like I didn't really spend a lot, so therefore I just accumulated a bit, a lot, enough.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
for me, it was interesting because, or I'll share this later. So you have two options when it comes to managing your finances. It's very simple. Like people think managing finance is very hard. No, it's very simple. It's more about discipline. Either you spend less or you earn more. There's nothing else you can really do. So spending less. How do you spend less? Well, you can make sure that you don't buy that thing that you really want. You can make sure that you don't go on the vacation if you don't have the money. I know most of my friends, when they're in school, we partied every week. This is before I converted. Every Friday night we were out. Mostly Saturday nights we were out too. Sometimes during the week we were out. And I realized that I was spending way too much money, and so spend less. And the second thing is earn more. And I put this in number 2 because most of you who are working now might know how hard is it to earn more. Like if you graduate and let's say you're blessed with a starting salary, let's say like 50K, which is pretty good for a university grad. How hard is it to go from 50K to like 70K?
Very hard.
It's very hard. Exactly. It might take you like, I don't know, unless you're a doctor, or unless you're like you have a PhD in something. It might take you 5, 10, 15 years to go from 50K to 70K. It might take you 15 to 20 years to get to 100K. So it takes a extremely long time to climb up the corporate ladder, to earn more. So naturally, you want to focus more on spending less. But that can't be all there is to it. But there is another way to earn more besides just having a higher salary. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. By the way, Victoria, can you give me a quick time check? Because I didn't start my timer.
Yeah,
How's
no
my
problem. So we're finishing in 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. Okay. I moved out in 2013 and I never moved back. Just for frame of reference. So I've been on my own for 8 years. And my salary for the first 4 years after I graduated was from 40,000 to 44,000. Right? That's below the average. Most graduates, yeah, it's like an entry level salary, but for the first 4 years after graduating, this is my salary. And I was living on my own, paying everything on my own. I think these are the common reasons why graduates struggle financially. And I'm using this as an example. I'm going to use an example of my brother. You know, it's personal, so it's hopefully he doesn't get offended because he might not hear this. But people are lazy. That's really like I think the biggest reason why people are struggling financially. They just don't want to put the time to learn about finances. And a lot of people are all about living for the moment, like living in the moment. All about this idea of YOLO, like what I earn now, I should spend now, and I should enjoy it now. That's really not the right mentality. And the more you think like that, the more difficult it is for you to change that mindset when you have kids, when you have a house, when you're in a relationship. Another reason is people don't like reading anymore. I still remember, when I was younger, I would read about 2 to 3 books a week. Now I read 2 to 3 books maybe every year. So, most people just don't like to read. But I remember when I was learning about personal finances, a lot of what I learned came from reading. So read more. Read more about finance from professionals. And the last but not least, I think I would say actually is probably the biggest reason is people don't like taking risks. I know all of us are Adventists, and I don't just feel like the culture is that we need to be very conservative with what we do. We need to be very careful. We need to make sure we don't waste money. We want to make sure we don't spend it on useless things. But because of that unwillingness to take risks, we don't learn how to make money. We don't learn how to invest. We don't explore. And I'm going to talk about later, but like most of how I learned to save money came from losing a lot of money too. Just a little bit of an update again on my financial situation. Ryerson University, when I was in undergrad, $6,000 was the annual tuition cost. I didn't have any debt at graduation. Luckily, that's because my father was a professor. So, unfortunately, those of you might not have that luxury, but I didn't have debt at graduation. I actually had a lot of savings at graduation. I lived at home at that time. In 2017, I purchased my first condo. So between the time of graduation, 2011, to 2017, so 6 years, I managed to save over $63,000, and I put that down towards my first condo. Now, remember, I just said I was earning between $40,000 and $50,000. Not a lot of money. I was earning, an entry level salary for my entire career, most of my career. But I managed to save $63,000, even though I was also living out on my own and renting. And currently, right now, my annual tuition fee for my University of Maryland is $49,000 US. Now, I know you guys think that you have a lot of student loans. You really don't. $49,000 US per year is how much I am paying right now. But I currently do not have any debt. I did not even take out a loan for my school. So I praise God for that.
I have a question, Dan.
Yes.
I don't know if it's too personal, but if you're willing to share, that's great. If not, that's okay. How long did it take for you to save the $63,000?
So if you remember, I mentioned that I graduated in 2011, and honestly, before that, I was working part-time at school, but it was very little money. Like it's not a lot of money. So between 2011 to 2017, that's 6 years. And actually, out of those 6 years, I wasn't working the entire time because sometimes I was in and out of jobs. So I would say about 5 years I was actually working. So in the span of 5 years, and out of those 6 years, the first 2 years I was living at home. The last like 4 years I was living on my own. So gives you a rough timeline. So between 4 to 5 years to save up 63,000. I see something in the chat. Oh, sorry. Cool. So if I can do this, I think you can too, because you probably are a little bit better off financially. You might not have to live. You're probably living at home. You don't have to move out, and you might actually be earning more than I was. So what worked for me? What was it that really helped me save all this money? So the first tip I would give you is really track your money and use a budget. When I asked some of my friends, and I asked them, hey, how much money do you have in your account? Most people would have no idea. They're like, oh, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000, like I really couldn't tell you. And the fact that they have no idea how much money they have is a big problem. It's a sign that they really just aren't responsible. They don't really care about how much money they have. So know how much money you have in all your accounts and use a budget. I'll share more about these things later. Think twice before you move back with your parents. This might actually sound like you know, like counterintuitive, but if you stay with your family, most likely what that means is you have nothing to pay for. You have no fees. But what that also means is you're kind of in this relaxed mode. You don't have to do anything. It's easy to get lazy. When you're on your own, like I was, when I was in between jobs and I was paying, $1,000 a month for rent, and I didn't know when my next job was gonna come. When I was down to my last dollar or last like few $1,000s, and I really had to budget well, that's when you really learn what it means to budget, and it really propels you to want to search for jobs more quickly, and it just gives you an added pressure, which I think is a good pressure. I don't own a car, and I still don't own a car. I'm 32 years old, and I've never owned a car. I don't know how long. I don't know when I'll own a car. I couldn't tell you. But because I don't own a car, I've saved so much money. Like I just commute everywhere. I use the subway, I use a GO train, I use a bus. And I'm telling you right now, most of my friends that own a car were never able to afford a condo or their first home. They were never able to save as close to anything I had, unless they were, making like maybe twice my salary. And study personal finance. Most people don't study anything about personal finance. It's funny because, most of you spend 4 years. You can probably pay around, 40 to no, maybe anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 to study nursing, to study psychology, to study business, and then you graduate and you get a job. That's just fine. That pays you 40, 50,000. So you spend 4 years and like $30,000 to $40,000 just to get a degree that doesn't even promise you a job. But yet, when you talk about personal finances, you won't invest any money, you won't invest any time to learn about it, and then somehow you expect that you're going to be rich one day. That probably won't happen. So really spend time and resources learning about personal finances, and invest early, and do it more consistently. Start now, if you can. If you have any kind of savings, start now, and be consistent. And lastly, learn by experimenting. So I'll give you a quick, I'll skip some of these slides because I realized that out of time. But this is just an example of a budget in Excel that you can really quickly put together. And it just tracks, every time you have a category, you can enter it here, and it tracks how much money you spend, how much money you earn, and it tells you at the end of the month how much money you have left. I'll skip this. This is just a graph I want to show you. Some of you might be around 25 years old, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, but look at this. Look at the power of starting early. If you started 25 and you invested $200 every month, you can get up to $96,000 of savings you put away by the time you retire. If you start when you're 45, you only put away 48,000. So the same amount of money you put away, if you just started earlier, it practically doubles. Like if you started 20 years earlier, it will double the amount of money you can save at the end. So start early. And max out your TFSA. I know that most of you know what a TFSA is, right? I hope so. But if you don't, or if you heard of it, but you don't really know what it is, I'll give you a quick rundown. TFSA is, it stands for Tax-Free Savings Account. Came out in 2009, and it's a way for the government to help Canadians and people in Ontario save money. Most of you might have heard from your parents to save for retirement, right? You probably know a lot of people that save for retirement. I have not put no, I have, but I put $80 in my retirement plan. $80. And I will never put another dime in my retirement plan unless I somehow make over 100K a year. I'm just not going to put any money in my retirement plan because the retirement plan is the old generation. That's what our parents thought, that you need to save for retirement. But the problem with the saving for retirement is that you put their money away. It forces you to put money away, but they don't give you anything back. They barely give you anything in return. And that money you cannot touch until you retire. I don't want that.
Sorry, is that RSP or what is the?
That's RSP. It stands for Registered Retirement Savings.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's what most of your parents probably have. What I'm suggesting is that you put your money into a TFSA, tax-free savings account. How this works is that, when you earn money, obviously you're already taxed, but you're probably not taxed that much because you're not earning that much money. Put that money into a TFSA. Talk to your financial advisor. They'll give you more details about what type of account to open. And all of this money that's in the account grows without tax. If you were to buy a stock of Apple, which I did, and let's say you bought, some shares of Apple, you put $200, and let's say that $200 doubled the next day to $400, and you're like, oh great, I just earned $200 from my investments. But if you do that outside of the TFSA, that $200 that you earned is all taxable. So even though you earn $200, you might actually pay about, I don't know, $60 to $80 of tax on that $200 that you earned. Whereas if you put it into a TFSA, you could put in $1,000. That $1,000 could grow to like $10,000. But all of that money is yours. Anything that grows in the TFSA is all your money. So I would say if you want a strategy for where to put your money and you just have no idea, open a TFSA account, talk to your financial advisor, try and max out your TFSA. The program was introduced in 2009. So up to now, you can put as much as $69,000, so close to $70,000 into your TFSA. I know most of us don't have $70,000, but until you've maxed out your TFSA, don't worry about your retirement plan. You don't need to worry about retirement right now. This is your retirement plan. If you have $70,000, you have enough for retirement. You don't need to worry about putting a retirement plan together. So max out your TFSA, talk to your advisor before you think about putting anything else into a retirement plan. Proverbs 10:4 says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. And I think that's really true. Like, honestly, guys, I'm not a finance expert. I never studied. I studied 1 or 2 courses on finance. I was never taught personal finance. But I think that if you want to be wealthy one day, if you truly believe that God has blessed you in a way that you think you can be rich, you think you can succeed, the biggest advice I would give you is take action, be proactive, really learn about things and try and fail. And when you fail, try again and then keep failing. I'll give you one example. One time I invested $2,000 into this stock, right? $2,000. Within 3 days, that 2,000 went to 6,000. So I earned $4,000 in the course of 3 days. You can never earn that in real life, anywhere, any job. But unfortunately, within another 3 weeks or a month, that $6,000 went to, I think, around like 400. And then I eventually just kept going. And eventually I pretty much lost all of it. But I'm telling you this because people will fail. Like, a truly successful and wealthy person is not someone that made the right decision every step of the way. There's somebody that tried, succeeded, tried and failed, and then they have the experience to know what might work and what might not work. Nobody can tell you, like, personal finance is not a science. You can't study it and know exactly what to do. It's more of an art. You really have to try out for your own and see what works for you. I know I'm probably out of time, so I know I skipped a lot of slides, but I just want to open up for those of you who have questions. Just anything you want to ask in general, and I'll try and answer that. Oh, by the way, I'm assuming that 5 minutes left means including Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, right on time.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So, could you go back a few slides? You showed us the TF. Yeah, the other way. Yeah, more.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The contribution room and TFSA room, like
Yes.
birth year and stuff.
Yeah.
So, could you explain how that works? Like.
Yeah. So, what year were you born, Victoria?
98.
98. Okay. So if you were born in 98, because this was introduced in 2009, if you were born in 98, you have $28,500 of contribution room right now to put into it. So for example, you can go into the bank today and say, I want to put in $20,500. Then that means that you've reached your capacity. You can't put any more money into your savings account anymore, or into the tax-free savings account. But the next year, another $5,000 will be added to your contribution room, right? Because from 2009 to 2012, oh sorry, no, 6,000. Now the increase is 6,000. So every year, the government adds more contribution room for you. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So this means that every year you have more and more room to put money that is tax-free, that doesn't get taxed. So, but I'm pretty sure that most of you are not close to being able to put in this much money anyways. So what I would suggest that you do is try and just put everything you got into some type of tax-free savings account. Everything you have. Because once you put it in, you can always take it out anytime you want.
So, okay, so right now, as it stands, I could, let's say I had like 70,000 just sitting around, I could put 69,500 into my TFSA.
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. And yeah.
So then if we were to like, let's say, not that this is the case for me, but if I had like 90,000 and I put like roughly 70,000 into TFSA, would you say then I should put the other 20K into RSP?
Well, not necessarily, because if you had the money just lying around, but you weren't earning like a lot of money, like let's say your salary is 50 or 60K, I still wouldn't recommend that you put into that RSP, because remember what happens when you put money into RSP, you can't touch it until you hit 65. If you want to touch it, you're going to get penalized. So what's the point of putting money into an account that you can't touch until you retire? Unless you really want that. But
I thought you can take it out. They just tax you on it based on your income.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
It does. But if you think about that,
like get taxed.
Because then you get you like the money you put in, you don't get like your taxes are less.
Yes.
When you pay whatever for the year.
Right. So but think about it. If you're only making 50K, unless you put like 10K away into your RSP, sure, you lower your tax bracket, which is the whole point of RSP. It puts you in a lower tax bracket. But you're not in a high tax bracket anyways. So you don't really need to be trying to lower your tax bracket. If you're earning like 100K and you're like paying, 35% tax.
Okay.
You're like, oh yeah, you know what? I don't want to pay 35%. I want to pay like 20%. So let me put
I want to lower the tax.
30,000 into my like RSP. But if you're not earning that much money, like you're not going to be taxed that much anyways.
Doesn't make a big difference.
You might as well put it in the TFSA, which is more flexible. So it's flexibility versus saving on your taxes. That's what you gotta value. You gotta do. Oh, we have 20 seconds. Oh shoot. Okay.
Oh, thanks so much, Dan.
We'll be able to pay, but that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thanks.
joining.
I learned a lot.
Same here.
No problem. Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
enjoy your next group of people.
Sorry?
Should I stay in here?
Well, I think it's gonna put you back.
Okay. Let me do this.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed the breakout rooms, and we're gonna go on to our next session. You'll be able to choose another breakout room. I realized that I haven't updated my Zoom, which is why I had to manually assign all of you to a room. So that's why it took a second for the rooms to get started. So Akil is going to open the breakout rooms this time, and hopefully it should
yes,
be more efficient.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for having